Escape from death, scary story. One girl was very afraid of dying. When she thought about death, she got so scared that several times she even fainted. And it wasn't just her own death she was afraid of. She was afraid for her mother and father, little brother, and especially for her grandmother, because grandmother was old and had to die first. Mom often had to reassure the girl that she would live a long time. And her brother, and she and daddy, and even grandma would live a long time, too. There are 365 days in 1 year, 24 hours in each day, 60 minutes in each hour, and 60 seconds in each minute. How much is the total? Mother asked. But the girl could not count that much. You see, said her mother, that's a lot. We will live for a very long time. And a very long time, it means we will not die almost never. The girl calmed down, but not for long. One day, when the girl came home from school, a boy she didn't know was waiting for her outside the house. He was smaller than her, but he had grown tired eyes and gray hair. So you're afraid of death, the boy said. He didn't ask, he said it in a way that made it clear he knew. The girl nodded. Do you want me to teach you to run away from death? The boy asked. Can you do that? Wondered the girl. Her mother had never told her about it. Look at me, said the boy, I've been running away from death for more than 100 years. And I can run away 10 times more. And there are 365 days in 1 year, with 24 hours in each day. There are 60 minutes in each hour, and 60 seconds in each minute, the girl continued, that's a lot, I know. The boy nodded. But for that you have to give me the life of someone in your family, the boy continued, like your brother. The girl shook her head. She was as afraid for her brother's life as she was for her own. The boy looked at her with his adult eyes and realized that the girl would not give him anyone. All right, he agreed, look. He walked over to her and held out his palm. In the palm of his hand there were 3 cords. The boy began to braid them, but not usual, but very different, more complicated. The girl remembered everything diligently. What did you do? She asked when the boy finished braiding. If you braid your hair like that you will have a strong thread, which death's plate cannot cut. Did you know that people die when death cuts their lifeline? The girl nodded. She had read about it in a book about ancient Greek heroes. When death can't take your life, she'll be very angry, but you'll manage to escape. And remember, when death can't take you, she will take others, those around you. And remember, you must weave at night, when death can't see you, or he will come and cut the thread before you can weave it. Can I weave the thread of life for other people? The boy shrugged, but then he said, everything has a price. But the girl was no longer listening to him. At night the girl got up, braided her hair as the boy had shown her. Then she did the same with her brother, her mother, father, and grandmother. And only after that did she fall asleep. But in the morning, when she awoke, it was found that she had woven a strong chain, one end of which was woven into her hair and the other extending far and deep beneath the earth, where the terrible roar of an unknown creature was heard. The same chains stretched from the girl's grandmother, father, mother, and brother. What have you done? Said the grandmother. I wanted to save you from death, cried the girl. But death saves us from an even worse fate, said Mom. And then something discovered them. It tugged at the chains with force and pulled them toward itself. The stars, bogeyman, one boy really liked to look at the stars. Already at the age of 5, he learned to find constellations in the sky, and when he turned 8, his parents gave the boy a real telescope. Every day before going to bed, the boy sat in front of the telescope and looked for the biggest stars in the sky: Sirius, Betelgeuse, Procyon. And then he looked at the other stars: Achernar, Alpha Centauri, Arcturus, Canopus, Beta Orion, Vega, and others. Sometimes it seemed to the boy that the stars shone only for him alone, as other people looked little at the stars and looked more at the ground beneath their feet. And sometimes it seemed to the boy that the stars wanted to tell him something. And when he thought about it, he got goosebumps on his back and wanted very much to find out what mysteries the stars were hiding. The boy had read many books about the stars, and although he had learned a lot about the stars, he did not like those books. He did not believe that the stars were just big balls of fire that hung in the emptiness of space. He liked the legends and myths about the stars much better. In the myths, the stars could be beautiful divine creatures or some horrible monsters. In myths, the stars had souls and minds, they were alive and could influence people's lives. In one book, a boy read that the stars were holes in a stellar sphere that covered the earth. In another book, the stars were the eyes of an ancient god who looked at the earth and created this world. And if one day this ancient deity suddenly stopped looking at the earth, the world would cease to exist. The boy looked more closely at the stars. And he noticed that if they really were eyes, those eyes belonged to more than one being. For not all the stars were looking at the earth, some of them were looking at other stars. And sometimes it was a very angry look. After the boy realized that the stars were someone else's eyes, he was afraid to go near the telescope, but he couldn't stop himself. He learned to distinguish between different gazes: empty, kind, and angry. Empty stares were the most, and kind ones the least. But the most insidious were the evil stars. They pretended to be empty or kind, but when they thought no one saw them, such anger poured out of them that the sky beside them began to turn gray and hurt. And one day the evil stars saw that the boy was looking at them. And now, as soon as the boy approached the telescope, all the evil stars immediately turned to him. The boy stopped looking through the telescope, and then folded it up and put it away in a box altogether. However, the evil stars continued to watch him. At night they looked through his window, and then the boy had nightmares. In these dreams, huge monsters would come down from the sky and try to get the boy out of his house. The only thing that saved the boy was that the monsters had big paws that wouldn't fit through the windows. And even during the day, the boy began to feel like someone was watching him from the sky. And in the street he began to notice people who had eyes like the evil stars. And these people were looking for the boy, but because of the bright light they were blind and the boy managed to evade them. But every day they got closer and closer. One morning the boy looked out the window and saw 3 people in the yard of the house. They were looking at the boy, seeing him even through the walls. The boy cried out in fear and began to call for his mother and father. But when his parents entered his room, the boy saw in their eyes all that starry angry look. Many, many years ago star people lived on this earth, the creature said in his father's voice, but men came and began to kill us, and they drove out those who were left. They chased us away until there was no place left for us on earth. And then we had to go to heaven, the creature continued in his mother's voice, but we didn't forget. We waited a long time. And now we are back. The boy had only one option left. And he ran and jumped out the window. But in the street he was caught by other people with eyes of evil stars. "Where are you running to?" they said, "because even if you make it to the ends of the earth, we will still find you and kill you, just as people used to kill us." They picked up the boy and carried him into the house. "We will take your eyes to look with, we will take your feet to walk with, we will take your hands to kill with." The boy screamed, but the star men only laughed. "We will take away your voice and your tears, so that you cannot scream and cry. What will you do then?" The star men took him into the room and put him on the bed. "We will even take away your death, so that you will have nothing left at all."